son, Al-Imam Al-Hujjah, in order to get the communications, especially in times where Al-Imam Al-Hujjah. This whole new way of communicating the verdicts, the Islamic jurisdiction, he initiated it and he tried to the best of his capabilities to make the departure of Al-Imam Al-Hujjah easy on the Shiites. Al-Imam Al-Askari, peace be upon him, is generally thought of someone that does not have much activity in Samarra, because when he was brought to Samarra, he was brought there for a reason, so that the authorities would be able to look at him directly and control his every move. So people thought, until this day, many Shiites believe that Al-Imam Al-Askari did not have much activity there. But the contrary is the truth. Let me give an example. Al-Imam Al-Askari had 2 days in the week, every Monday and every Thursday. He would actually go to the royal palace there, and they would have him, they would greet him, and people from all over the world, not only from Samarra, came to visit him. One of the Abbasid henchmen was actually talking about the way that Al-Imam used to come to the palace. He said that in these days, Mondays and in Thursdays, people had a general market. People going with their cattle, their horses, and their merchandise and whatever. So in the midst of them, Al-Imam, peace be upon him, would actually go and pass through to go to the palace. This henchman, he was very close to the Abbasids, but still he told the truth. He said that the whole market would halt and stop at the time where Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, peace be upon him, would pass. They would all be quiet. If you threw a needle, you would be able to hear the voice of that needle, because it was so quiet as the Imam was passing. And then he would go inside and stay for hours debating, speaking, talking about the Prophet, peace be upon him. And one of the greatest, scenes that you would see there is whenever he went to the palace, he actually, lived in the lives of 3 of the Abbasid leaders. And, he was killed by the last, which is Al-Mu'tamid Al-Abbasi. So, with all 3, he would go to the palace and they would stand up to him. And they would go and kiss his forehead, both of his hands, and then take him by the hand and make him sit in the place that they were sitting, whether it be the throne, whether it be, a chair or whatever. And they would sit in front of him as slaves sit in front of their masters. This was reported by an Abbasid person, not by a person that loves Al-Imam, a person that hates Al-Imam. But still, he told the truth. And they would stay, for hours sitting in front of him, chatting with him, and calling him the best names and the best, in the best way and form that they could communicate with him. So, Al-Imam had actually a very, very strong presence, and people came from everywhere just to meet him. So, Al-Imam Al-Askari, peace be upon him, is not only a person that was tormented by the Abbasids. No, he tormented them with the knowledge he gave to the people, with all the messengers he has prepared for himself and also for his son. But things, usually always come to a stop, whether they are good or whether they are bad. There is nothing that continues in this life. So we have to always try to make benefit from the good positions that we are put in life, and try to resolve every negative situation that we are put in. And that is what Al-Imam has done. So, anyways, Al-Imam Al-Askari gave many lessons in this life for us as Shiites and for the whole world. One of the narrations by his authority actually said that religion and piety is not by the amount of prayer and fasting that you are doing. The amount of piety depends on how much you think about God. So when we ponder upon this narration and look for the reason why he had said that thinking about the Lord, thinking about God is even better than trying to fast as much as you can and pray as much as you can, it is because all change starts with a thought. And the thought that you may have maybe at late night could change your whole life to the better or for the worse. So, pondering upon God and pondering upon our lives and how we could make them better is our pathway towards a better future. Let's take an example. Let's say someone has, I don't know, maybe a commercial activity or whatever of the sort. So he would go and then practice his activities, commercial activities, and then return back every day without counting how much money he got in, without knowing how much money got out. He may be losing in his business, but he would not know because he does not think and ponder upon the input and the output of his business. But if he takes a pen and paper and starts to write down and jot down, every penny that comes in or comes out and see and compare and contrast, then and only then he would be able to understand his situation and his stance. Another example, it is said that there is a species of frogs, amphibians, that do not feel the change of temperature if it is not sudden. So, as I am told, they made a small experiment. They took a jug of water and they put it on a small flame, a Bunsen burner, and they put the frog inside. And they heated it extra, but slowly by slowly. And the temperature increased until that frog was boiled and he did not feel a thing. Why? Because the change was so slow and he did not account for it. But if it was a sudden change, he would feel. So I have been told. The same thing applies to our life. The changes that happen around us are usually not sudden. Few are the sudden changes in our lives. The changes are generally, happening slowly by slowly, and so we do not feel. We may be going astray away from God, but still we do not feel that. Just the same as if we swim in the sea. The waves hit us, and then we move gently, but suddenly you would look and you would see that the shore is very, very far away. So, Al-Imam Al-Kadhim also said another narration that is very similar to the narration of Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari. He had said, but it is more, greater, because he had said, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَتَفَكَّرْ فِي كُلِّ لَيْلَةٍ. And whoever does not think about himself, his situation, his stance daily, is not someone that could be attributed to us as imams. So if we call ourselves Shiites, we have to do that daily. We have to think about our actions and the repercussions of our actions. Sometimes we may just say a small word, but that word would change so much in someone or something to the better or to the worst, and we do not know because we do not think about that. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stressed so much about trying to think about the future and what would happen based on our actions. Because nobody in this world, in his sane mind, does not know how to compare and contrast and understand his actions and their repercussions. But do we take the time to actually think about these issues? This is the important thing. Sometimes we may know the good path, but not following it with action and going through with it is something that will make us not move forward in our life, but sometimes even move backwards. There is a question that poses itself whenever this ceremony comes, regarding Al-Imam Al-Hujjah, peace be upon him, and may God hasten his appearance, and Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, which is, why is the Imam not present? Why is Al-Imam Al-Hujjah hidden from our eyes, hidden from our whole society? And some people also actually think about the whole situation of the Imam being not present, and they may think in their hearts that it is something that is not healthy for us. So why is it done? Firstly and foremost, we need to know that everything God does, He does for a reason. Whether it be a good happening or even a plague, it doesn't matter. Even the corona situation that has appeared since 2019, although it took many of the lives of people that we love, it taught us many things. And it helped us as a whole humanitarian society to improve the way that we communicate with each other safely. So, everything God does for a reason. Even if it may seem bad, there is good that is hidden inside of it, that not only equates the bad, no, surpasses it. Because we believe that Allah Kareem, God is generous. And if God is generous, then He gives more than He takes from us. We can't actually say that He is taking even, because the amount that He gives is a very, very fair trade. A very fair trade for us. Anyway, so returning to answer the question, why is the Imam hidden from our eyes? Before we answer this question, I have to give a short, brief summary about the human history since the Prophet, not only the Prophet Muhammad, all of the prophets until now. Before the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Prophet Muhammad, and also the Prophet Muhammad, you would see that the evidence that prophets and people of high piety prove their religion through is by miracle. Go read the Bible, go read the Old Testament, the Torah, read whatever you would read, and you would see that in every religion, the prophets came and gave miracles as evidence to the existence of God. And people at that time period believed in miracles directly because they would see them and they would be amazed that, oh, how did this happen? It is not logical. It does not abide by the laws of nature. And so they knew that the person in front of them is not a normal person. He is a person sent from God. But that has stopped with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There are no miracles after that. We may ask why. The reason lies in the same reason why Al-Imam Al-Hujjah is hidden from us. Now we have technology. If we had someone to come with a miracle, we would be able to experiment upon it. For example, the fire of Ibrahim al-Khalil, Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him. It was a hot fire that turned cold. This is not something that is logical per the scientific explanation now, because fire is plasma. And this plasma, that is the fire, needs a heat source. There cannot be a cold fire. But it is mentioned in the Quran, not only the Quran, also the old scriptures, they do mention the same miracle. So, if we had this fire, we would experiment and we would see exactly how cold it is and how it is formulating, and we would see that this is not something that could be forged or something that could be replicated by us. And we would know it is a miracle for certain. And then what would happen? We would all go into the correct religion. God does not want us all to go to the correct religion. No, this is not the way that God, wants this world to work. This world works by cause and effect. He wants to examine us, to see our piety. أَحَسِبَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do the people that have become, this is from the Quran, do the people that have become people of faith believe that we as God would leave them for the sole reason that they have believed in God? No, we shall examine them. So the examinations that people go through into this life will discriminate us into people that would go to heaven or, God forbid, to hell. So if we had a miracle now and we examined it, all of us would know clearly that God exists, and then we would go through and believe in God. There would be no exam. So God split the situation into two parts. First, the time in which there were prophets, there were miracles, there were imams that you could feel and touch, and they would have great achievements to be done, and also have great miracles to be on their side. And then the time of technology. In the time of prophecy and in the time of miracles, people did not have enough scientific knowledge in order to examine the miracles. So when they see the miracles, they had two choices. It is either a miracle or it is magic or anything of the sort. So they had an exam. Either they believe or they don't, based on what they conceive from this miracle that has happened in front of them. And now we have the technological advance that enables us to study the miracle, but not the miracle itself. Why? So that we would go and read and see that we had miracles. And then in this age, it would not be so logical to us. So this would be our examinations. Now, if you told me that someone rode on a horse and ascended to the heavens, I would laugh. But if I heard it happen to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I would believe that in Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, the story of him ascending to the skies and heavens. So basically, in order for humanity to have an exam that is equal, before they had prophecy but no way to test it, and so they did not know if it was 100% accurate or not. And now we have the technological advances but not the miracle. So we would ponder in the past and see and read about the miracle that had happened, and also have an exam whether to believe in it or not. This leads to another question. So in this age, let's say someone that was not raised Muslim or not raised Christian or not raised a Jew, someone that was raised an atheist, for example, and he would hear about these miracles, he would not believe in them. So how is this an exam to him? The answer is, religion does not stand upon miracles only. No, it is a mere small part. It is the smallest part of religion. The greatest part of religion is its verdict and what it has given to this society and to humanity as a whole. So, in order for someone to judge Islam, he has to study Islamic history, he has to study the Islamic theism, he has to study the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then he could be his own judge. Rarely you would see someone that is objective and reads about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that does not say that he is a great man. Many great scholars, even Western scholars in this world, that are non-believers, some are atheists. They say that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had given a lot to humanity as a whole, and he is one of the greatest people to ever live on this earth. In contrast, you would see people saying the opposite. You would see people saying that Islam is the worst thing that happened to this world and that it is a very violent religion, etc., etc., etc. And the reason behind all of this is media. Media does not put good first, it puts good last. Good things that happen in this world does not make for good media. They want something to stir the world with. They want more views, more likes, more shares, etc. And that could be shared by the negative things that happen in the world. So, out of 100% of all Muslims, you would see that 1%, if not less, are terrorists. And if you look, you would see that the actions of these terrorists reflect upon all of the Muslims. Go actually, that is a nice activity that one could do. Go into forums and look for people that are talking about their neighbors as Muslims, or their spouses, or for example their friends or people that they have met. You would see that they are talking very highly about them. Why? Because these Muslims correctly represent Islam. The problem is in our representation. We as Muslims are not provided the good media that we need in order to get our thoughts through. And for some reason or another, people are actually, non-Muslims I mean, feel a bit shy when they want to ask about Islam. And they fear to be ridiculed, and they fear sometimes to be treated with violence. But that is not the case. A Muslim is a true Muslim if he has an open heart towards people around him, especially non-believers that want to come to understand Islam. Personally, I've been reached by some people, regarding Islam. They have some questions, etc., just as any other person who is studying religion. Some of them actually came and were asking in a very violent way, and in a way that is, to me, not logical, because they don't know me personally, but they're speaking to me as if I am their enemy. So the first thing that I do is that I reject to answer any question, if not reached respectfully. So I tell them, I am seeking, you came and asked a question, but I am seeking a civilized discourse. If you are ready to do that, then I'm ready to spend 5 hours or even more answering the questions to you that you have to the best of my capabilities. So more often than not, I would see a good, result that happens after these discourses, because the rules were set. We know that respect is the mutual bound, and if it is broken, then the whole discourse is broken. So, as Muslims, we need to improve our representation, firstly by having patience, and secondly by having tolerance, and thirdly by trying to have a respectful discourse. Another story that came to my mind just now is that people, especially those that are in some situations that are very far from Islamic beliefs, have a tough time in asking about their situation and what Islam thinks about them. For example, we may encounter in all of our lives people that actually do not follow the binary system in genders that we have. People that are males that are inclined toward males, or females that are inclined towards females. We have some even in Bahrain, but they are shy to ask. They are afraid from going to a scholar and asking him. But that is what they should do, and each scholar actually should go and respect that that person came and asked him, and try not to ridicule or judge, but try to actually take in the information that that other party has, and try to understand him, and then give him the Islamic point of view. So even those people, maybe they are doing some actions that are highly prohibited in Islam, but that is not important. If anyone wants to make a discourse regarding Islam, then we all as Muslims should open our arms and hands to the maximum extent. Al-Imam al-Sadiq said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ قَاطِعِي سَبِيلَ الْمَعْرُوفِ. He had said that God damns those that cut the path of people that want to get good things. And one of the good things is Islam. If we cut the way and we treat those people violently, let's give an example. Let's say that someone from the LGBTQ plus, I don't know, also whatever society comes and asks a question. And he states that he is of the sort. And he sees even the slightest flinch in your face. He sees that you were smiling and then suddenly you are not anymore. Then he would not ask any other question, because directly then he would feel that he is judged. No, we have as Muslims try to keep a straight face, a smiley face, and an open heart, and receive whatever they have to say, and then give them our point of view, and maybe your kindness would turn that person and change the whole aspect of his life. So tolerance is very, very, very important as Muslims, and also as narrated by the Prophet Muhammad, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, peace be upon him. Tolerance not only in things that are related to Islam, but general tolerance is something that is highly revered in Islam. There is a narration that is saying in Arabic that the worst person is a person that people are afraid of him because of his tongue. شر الناس من اتقى الناس لسانه. So look, the tongue is the weakest of the muscles in our bodies, but still it inflicts the greatest pain if it shoots some negative, words towards people that are around us. So if we use our words kindly, we are able to change a lot. And this is why in the narration, the person that hurts people with his tongue, whether he is mocking them, making fun of them or their belief, ridiculing, judging, making jokes, giving names, backbiting, whatever, this is one of the greatest sins per this narration. He is considered as the worst one in people. This is the direct translation when you take Sharrun Nas, the worst one in people. Man ittaqa nas lisana is the person that people are afraid of him because of his tongue. Some people say, no, I am sincere. I say whatever is in my heart. I don't show two faces to people. No. tolerance is not showing two faces to people. If you have anger towards the other person, you don't have to show it. If you have a negative opinion about the person in front of you or his actions, you don't have to say that. You can keep it in your heart and then be tolerant. There is a very fine line between being a person that is transparent and being a person that is rude. Unfortunately, in this time, many people you would find in front of you would brag and say, oh, I can't hide my emotions. If I feel negatively towards you, I will tell you directly. If I don't like something, I will say directly. No, this is pure rudeness. And we as a society are rooting for people of this sort, which is a very negative thing. First, before we change others, we have in our hearts to change. Because لا يغير الله ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. God does not change the situation of people unless they change what is in their hearts. And if we take in our hearts the first step and decide to be tolerant with people that are around us, you would see that everybody around you would be tolerant with you and they would respect you highly. Tolerance is not a weakness, no. It is the topmost strength that anybody could attain. Because it is difficult. Being tolerant means that you have to have patience, that you have to treat people sometimes in ways that are far more good than they deserve. And this was the way of Al-Imam Al-Askari, peace be upon him. He had practiced the taqiyya, in which he did not expose all of his beliefs directly to people because the situation was so grievous, and if he did that, he would be killed directly. Rather, he, throughout the 6 years of his imamah, in which he was imam, he was able to communicate many books that came and that are still here until today. There is actually the tafsir of the Quran, an interpretation of the Quran that is narrated on the authority of Al-Imam Al-Askari. So see, even in the worst situation, Al-Imam Al-Askari lived in one of the worst sieges upon any imam, him and Al-Imam Al-Kadhim, peace be upon them both. But still, he communicated the message of God. And when he had passed away, the whole of Samarra felt the pain of him leaving. Even those that were not even Muslim, they knew him as a tolerant person. They knew him as a godly person. They knew him as a person that they would go to if they have any problem in life, whether it be materialistic or whether it be something regarding the afterlife. But when the days of Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, peace be upon him, were to an end, he was given some poison by Al-Mu'tamid Al-Abbasi, and then he was sick for many days before he passed away. And in those days came Al-Imam Al-Hujjah Ajjalallahu Faraja, and he was looking at his father and his colors were changing because of the situation of Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari. And Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari told him, "Oh my son, I am leaving you very soon. You will be the Imam after I departure from this world. O Imam Al-Hujjah, you would be hidden away from the eyes of your lovers. But have patience and continue your journey towards God." And the narrations say that Al-Imam Al-Askari, peace be upon him, was feeling the pain of his poison. And he was looking to his child Al-Imam Al-Hujjah, and he was only 5 years old. And he was kissing him and hugging him repeatedly, saying, "Fi amanillah ya Hujjat Allah, fi amanillah ya Wali Allah." Imagine them both saying their final goodbyes, and Al-Imam Al-Hujjah did not have anyone that is related to him except few in Samarra. The rest were in Al-Madinah. And then Al-Imam Al-Askari told him, "Oh Hujjah, please face me towards Al-Qibla. I am leaving this world." And so he did. So Al-Imam Al-Hujjah Ajjalallahu Farajah was crying heavily at the scene of his father. And then after that, Al-Imam Al-Askari recited some verses from the Quran, and he extended his hands and he closed his eyes, and then he passed away and went to the heavens. أين المنادي وإماما أين المنادي وسيدا. And Al-Imam Al-Hujjah was only 5 years old. He did not know how to carry his father alone. And so he called the people and told them, لَقَدْ تُوفِّيَ الْإِمَامُ الْعَسْكَرِي. Al-Askari has passed away, so come to mourn him. And people came from all around Samarra, but the authorities prevented them from going to Al-Imam Al-Askari. And so only few people went and to the ceremony of Al-Imam Al-Askari, just like Al-Imam Al-Husayn alayhi salam. نوحي على الأولاد يا زهر الحزينة في كربلاء واحد واحد في المدينة وهالنوح يا زهراء على منه تنوحين نوحج على المسموم لو نوحج على حسين وعلى حسين وحزني على حسين ولكن الأمر لله ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. يا الله بالحسين الوجيه وأمه وأبيه والتسعة المعصومين من ذريته وبنيه اقض حوائجنا يسر أمورنا اغفر ذنوبنا ارحمنا وارحم موتانا والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. ورحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة قبلها صلوات.